Hello, it is Wednesday, November 17th, 2021. I'm Chris Remo, and that person down there is Chris Remo, and welcome back to our New York Times Crossword Daily Solve. This is certainly the most ridiculous crossword solve video I will have uploaded to this channel to date. It is likely to be a complete disaster. I suppose it's already been a complete disaster, which is entirely the problem. I recorded today's crossword, the Wednesday crossword, and I didn't realize until the end of the recording that the microphone was not being recorded. I was surprised to discover this because I was seeing the input levels on the microphone. I was seeing them register, so the microphone was active, but it had apparently been muted in the recording software, and I didn't realize that. I don't know how that happened. This is a new computer setup that I put together to finally get off of the laptop I'd been using, and I didn't do a test recording, which I really should have done. I've gotten so accustomed to having everything completely ready to go in exactly the same way every day and just rolling right into the recording that I didn't do a test. So, more fool me, what a mess that was. So now, what I'm going to attempt to do, I popped into the Daily Solve Discord chat server to mention that I'd done this, and someone suggested doing a commentary video of my own recording. So that's what I'm going to try and do. The other option, the other thing that occurred to me was I could simply do a new solve of the video, having already solved it. A new solve of the crossword, I should say, having already solved it. Of course, that would be a pretty easy solve. I thought this might be possibly more interesting. It will certainly be more ludicrous. So we'll see how I do. I don't really know. I look quite startled down there where that frame happened to be frozen. Anyway, I'll probably spare you at this point the Patreon begging today, because I don't know that this video is worth that level of preamble. So let's just get going. Let's see. Can I unpause the video? I've never done this before. Yes, here we go. All right. Wow, this is bizarre. So we can see here, yes, I'm highlighting the name. This is a crossword constructed by Anne Gray Martin and edited, as always, by Will Shorts. And it looks like I was ready to get going. So here we go. Like the comment, I heard you the first 10 times. Didn't know that. Biceps locale. So biceps locale, biceps came up in the crossword just the other day. And obviously that's located on the arm. The plural we learned recently is bicepses or tricepses, or bicipites or tricipites. Yes, here on this new computer setup, my spacebar wasn't toggling between a cross and down, so I went in there to clean this up. This is ridiculous. I don't know if this is any good. I'm releasing it because I would like to get a video out every day, but what a preposterous situation this is. Sorry, I'll try and stop mentioning that going forward, because that isn't itself interesting content. So here we have hide away, and you see that away is in parentheses. And what that means is that, if you aren't familiar with this convention, essentially we're going to append the word away to both the answer and the clue. So we'll say hide away, and also whatever we put into 9 across, it will be that thing away. And so it basically, it makes it a little easier to mesh the two words. So in this case, stash. Stash and hide they're synonyms, but they're more closely aligned with away. Anyway, here I am plowing through these crosses. Sorry. So here we have toned for muscular, matches our biceps, and gadzooks, wowie, zowie, yowie, probably wowie in this case is what I ended up putting in. Boy, that was absurd that I couldn't keep up with my own crossword solving. Here we have subjects of King Carl XVI Gustaf, Swedes, King of Sweden, King Carl Gustaf, and the goal of some meditation. So I think I was thinking about things like oneness and that sort of things. Calmness, I wasn't able to arrive at what that is. Palindromic title, though, is ma'am, like madam, a contraction of madam, which has become sort of inducted into English as a standard word. Here we have unruly, couldn't land on that, and Mauna blank with an A in 3 letters, Mauna Loa. There's also Mauna Kea. I think those are volcanoes. I didn't look this up, so I'm actually still not sure, but I think they are. In any case, Mauna Loa is the more common, so I put that in. Here I was totally baffled by Blank Thompson, aka Honey Boo Boo. So I thought maybe, I don't know, Alan is a name, Alan Thompson, Alton, not sure. So the goal of some meditation, we have a bit more fill, but I still wasn't landing on it. And unruly, rowdy. Yep, there we go. Rowdy, unruly, rowdy. That works. And then that gives us awareness for the goal of some meditation. So I was thinking of something more inward looking, I suppose. This could be self-awareness, I guess. And a hoarse voice, which is actually what I've had for the last few days. Not as much today, but a rasp. I don't think I'm sick. I just haven't been drinking enough water. There we just filled in politicians in the House of Commons. That would be here in the UK. MPs, members of Parliament. And then on the 30 down, we have an Impossible Burger. What it lacks is meat. I've had some of those Impossible Burger patties recently. They're pretty good. And here we have, like many items on Etsy, they are handmade. Many items on Etsy are handmade. That's the whole point of the site. And then we're back to this Thompson person. Could be Elena. If we fill in the Mauna Loa with the awareness and handmade, Elena Thompson is plausible. And 22 down, let's talk. Could be a word. Let's talk. A word if you please. And then here I started looking at these circled cells, which I hadn't really yet examined. And I was a little bit baffled initially by the arrangement of letters because they didn't look like a word, and it turns out they're not. It's 3 words in a row. Well, 2 words, really. Downward dog. And that I recognize as a yoga pose, an asana, I think they're called. So it occurs to me perhaps all of these arrangements of circled letters are different names for yoga poses. And I thought, what about crane? Isn't that one of those? This one looks like it maybe plausibly could be someone in the shape of a crane. So I put that in, and then I was confronted with 32 down, clayey color. And I find that a revolting word, clayey. That is just horrible. Don't like it at all. It sounds like nothing. So Bruin School, 37 across, University of California at Los Angeles, UCLA. I was pretty sure about that. But then I hit comparative word on 41 across, and it didn't really fit. So I figured crane, probably incorrect. Let's delete the whole thing. For home front, I thought maybe driveway. A driveway is in front of a home. That could be plausible. But then 5 down, response to who me, didn't really fit. So I deleted driveway. And who me, turns out that should be yeah, you. A response to who me. Here we have hugs on a love letter. A series of O's, I would think. Oh, did I not put that in? I guess I didn't. 24 down, fearsome pteranodon of classic film. I've never seen any of the Godzilla films, but I'm pretty sure that's what this is from. And I think I maybe erroneously entered it first, yes I did, as Rodin, sort of spelled like the sculptor Rodin. That was not correct, but I didn't know that yet. Headstrong, though, on 32 across, is obdurate. So that was straightforward enough, and that clarified Homefront, 23 across, as being entryway. 1 down, freak out. Wasn't sure about that, so I moved on. Here we have 12 or 62 down. So one of these was cis, one of the answers we quickly skipped over earlier, which was member of the fam. And we have another member of the fam. And so I figured, well, it's probably bro and cis, and each of them is a sib. So 4 down is sib, for cis or bro. 61 across, blank omen, Latin akin to heaven forbid. I thought maybe this starts with an O, and it turns out that would cause me a lot of problems later. 65 across, neighbor of a Slovene. I remember speculating this was Croat at the time, but I didn't yet put it in. And here we have colorfully named victim in the UK version of Clue, which a sloppy read led me to think was one of the sort of character names, not the victim. And 68 across, Marie Kondo, for the tidying up show. 52 down, you want to fight, let's go. That's it's on. And then a mythical being, that's an anagram of Diana going down, is Naiad. Oh, you know what? I just realized something. Sorry. I'm going to pause this for a moment. I was wondering why I was having so much trouble so much trouble keeping up, and I realized it's because I edited this video slightly before I did this, and I put it on a faster playback mode so that I could sort of get through it more quickly to see if there was any, because there was some spaces I wanted to edit out because of some, doesn't matter, some unrelated difficulties, and which I don't usually do, but in this case, because of the special circumstances of this video. Anyway, again, not worth explaining, but it means that I'm actually watching a slightly faster, I think it's maybe 20% faster than it was, and I completely forgot that I had done that. So that's why I'm having such a hard time keeping up. I was really starting to wonder what was going on. Anyway, I will unpause this and we'll keep going. So here, just to recap, we had mythological being, that's an anagram of Diana, and there didn't seem to be very many mythical beings that could be, so I fairly quickly landed on Naiad, which I think is a water spirit. I could be wrong about that. I didn't look any of these things up in between the solve and the commentary, so maybe that defeats the purpose of the commentary. But in any case, Naiad, let's go. So here we have 54, arrived at, probably ends in 2, could be got to, and then a neighbor of a Slovene. That certainly does look like Croat, so I went ahead and filled that in. Colorfully named victim in the UK version of Clue. I think I was still on the wrong track with thinking this was one of the potential murderers rather than the victim. So this whole area really ended up causing me some great deal of problems later in the puzzle. Anyway, 61 across. I decided to go with my hunch of this being obsit omen, Latin akin to heaven forbid. It was a bad idea, as we'll eventually see. Like the comment, I heard you the first 10 times. Something sort of giving someone lip, but I couldn't land on it yet, so I kept going. 45 across, one who's adorable, is a cutie pie, so that was pretty straightforward. And then to freak out. So here was scare. So rather than meaning to freak out yourself, this means to freak somebody out, to scare somebody. And that was when I first looked at this clue, I didn't pick up on that. But that's an example of why it's important to consider the different senses of a word, the different ways it could be used in speech. In this case, to freak out somebody else, to scare somebody else, rather than to have a freak out internally. So that's what that was about. And what's next? I guess I talked about that at a little more length. I don't know what else to say. Anyway, Mrs. America actress Uzo, absolutely no idea. Never heard of Mrs. America, whatever that is. And I don't know this actress, unfortunately, so I had to leave that alone. Kylo blank of Star Wars, though. I was able to fill in Kylo Ren. And a publicity act is a stunt. Publicity stunt. The Shield of Achilles poem, I filled that in as Auden, W-H Auden, or yeah, W-H Auden. But it still didn't help me with that other person. I read that actress's name as Aduba, and then here I explained, heard you the first 10 times as Sassy once I had the Auden. I don't know why that took me so long. And jumped around a bit. I don't really remember what I was looking for, but let's see what happens next. Here we go. Serena's best friend on Gossip Girl. No idea. I don't know why I jumped to that because I don't know anything about that program. I've heard of it, but don't know anything about it. Bruin's School. This was what clued me into the fact that I'd misspelled Rodan, the Godzilla monster. So changed that I to an A. And presumably then filled in UCLA. Did I not? I'm pretty sure that's why I got the A. What am I doing? Yes, there it is, UCLA. And comparative word, and Great Salt Lake locale is the state of Utah, which also contains Salt Lake City, the capital. And comparative word is than, which is what made me think crane was wrong for that other yoga pose. The clayey color I filled in as ochre, and then I think I went on a bit of a rant about how terrible the word clayey is. I'm not opposed to creating adjectives by adding y at the end. That's a pretty common mechanic in English. But adding a y to the end of a word that already ends with an e syllable is just a disaster. Clayey, it sounds like nothing. It's hard to understand. It sounds terrible coming out of your mouth. It's messy. It's just a gross word. Don't put y's on the end of words that already end with an e syllable. Anyway, pop star Grande to fans. I've heard of Ariana Grande and thought maybe her name is Ari to fans. And then that leads to Serena's best friend on Gossip Girl being probably Blaine or Blair, but I don't know which, so I'll have to pass. And then here we go, Kane with the 2012 presidential campaign. That answers the Gossip Girl question because it's Herman Cain. Fancying could be into. If you fancy someone, you're into them. Did I not put that in? I did. And Mark Twain title character, didn't remember what this referred to. I can sort of yell at myself now about this. It's Pauper. It's the Prince and the Pauper, you idiot. Okay. America's Body Shop Company. Didn't know what America's Body Shop was. Thought maybe it's a television program, but never heard of it, so I don't know. Didn't help me fill it in. Had to move on. Roughly putting together, and here we have another parenthetical. So slapping together matches with roughly putting together. That's what that parenthetical is. And an informal summons, I figured, could be see me, as on written on a test or something in school. Infancy, didn't know what to put for that, so that led to me deleting this entire area because I wasn't sure if my speculation was correct. So before in poetry, common in crosswords, ere, sort of an archaic and poetic way of saying before. Treated as a pawn, if you treated a person or a thing as a pawn, you used them. And this I misread as pistone or lions on scoreboards due to some monitor issues that aren't worth explaining. Anyway, eventually realized it was pistons or lions on scoreboards, and that led me to think it must be DET for Detroit sports teams, because I recognized Detroit Lions and Pistons I didn't recognize, but I did recognize Detroit as being the former sort of hub of American automobile manufacturing, and therefore Pistons would be an appropriate team name. So, that's that. I guess I kept talking about this. I've been trying to talk quickly to make it inside of this higher speed. I was right. I totally forgot about this. I was right not to fill that in with see me, because in fact the informal summons was not see me, it was come here, which makes sense. It's actually more informal than see me. See me isn't actually particularly informal, so that's less of an appropriate fill than come here. And that also meant that slapping together was incorrect. So anyway, let's keep going. Infancy could be the onset of something, the infancy of an idea, for instance, and what the 5 formations of circled letters in this puzzle represent. So here's our revealer. It is yoga poses. This confirms the guess we had about the circled letters in the puzzle, that they form pictorial representations of these various poses. These asanas, I think they're called, as I said. And so we've got boat, downward dog. Anyway, Wonderland Girl would be Alice. A major vegetable export of Nigeria, nearly 70% of the world's total, must be a yam, and I had no idea. But it's not surprising because yam does feature heavily in the cuisine of that region, but I certainly would never have guessed that Nigeria alone produced 70% of the world's total yam exports. That's fascinating. Portuguese greeting is hola, ingredient in a Negroni. A Negroni came up in the puzzle recently as well, but that would be gin. Negroni is a gin drink. And many a Jane Austen setting, many Jane Austen books are set in a manor house. And that gives us the Pauper for Mark Twain title character, the Prince and the Pauper, the sort of switching of one's lot in life for comedic effect. Like September's equinox would be autumnal, the autumnal equinox. And America's Body Shop Company is revealed to be MAACO, Mako probably, which I think is a auto parts company. I have no idea what America's Body Shop is, perhaps a sponsored television program in conjunction with that chain. A venomous snake is a mamba. Roughly putting together is not slapping together, but rather cobbling together. And once again, that together helps us make the definition a little tighter to the answer. So roughly putting together, cobbling together. They both get the phrase. And here we have colorfully named victim in the UK version of Clue, which was, because of this misentered O down in 61 across, I was very confused about what was going on there. I still think I didn't realize I was looking for the victim and not one of the characters. I was thinking of Miss Scarlet and Professor Plum and all of that. Anyway. Blank alert. Don't think I knew what that was. Body shot in brief. Could be a shot of your interior of your body, an MRI in a hospital. And then I thought, in the colorfully named victim, I put Mr. Block, which was idiotic and is nothing. It's certainly not colorfully named. I don't know how I didn't notice that letter being wrong. Anyway, blank alert. Didn't know, so I kept going. Here we have a British bum is an arse. Bum, in this case, meaning a rear end, as opposed to sort of pejorative term for someone who's homeless, for instance. And then 38 across, ideal scenario. Did I tackle that? I did. It's a dream. And a common garment for tie-dyeing down is a tee, as in a t-shirt. Here we have flesh out some wedding plans, perhaps. And I was led astray, again, because of a mistake. So I said, set a menu. And that led me to be confused about the former US coin worth $10 ending with a U, which didn't really make any sense to me, so I was a bit confused. But grass-like swamp plants, I plunged ahead. Swamp plants are sedges. And here we have waiting for blank, and that finally made me realize something's wrong here. It's not Mr. Block, it's Dr. Block. Or is it? It's definitely not Dr. Block. But at least that D is correct. So I changed set a menu. I filled in waiting for Godot and then put in set a date for the wedding, the wedding occasion. I put in edge for one of 12 on a die, 12 edges on a cube, and former US coin worth $10. That makes more sense. It's eagle, not igloo or whatever it would have been. And then do not delete is stet, which is a typographical sort of, more of a proofreading abbreviation. So you would write stet if you've marked something for deletion and you intend to actually say, no, don't delete it, leave it in. You write stet, and that's what that means. Okay. Here we have what large birds typically do less often. They molt less often. I didn't know that. Well, I mean, it sort of stands to reason, and then anyway, we've got email alert is what that is. So I fill this in, and lo and behold, I don't successfully fill the puzzle because something's wrong. And then here I spend quite a while going through the puzzle and failing to solve it. So it really was this little pair. It was a pair of letters down in the southeastern corner of the grid that really tripped me up for quite a long time and caused me significant problems. And I never really understood what I was in. Well, until I finally got it right, I didn't realize what I had missed about the clue, actually. The clue about the game Clue. And in this case, it's referencing the British version of Clue, which is actually called Cluedo, ridiculously, a portmanteau of Clue and Ludo. And the character being referenced is the victim, Dr. Black, which is why he is colorfully named, because his name, like the other characters, is a color. And I finally get that. And it took me ages. And that was one of the reasons I sped up this video, was I meant to just speed up that part, but I sped up the whole thing and forgot to turn it off. And so that probably makes sense for the commentary anyway. And then absit omen, I very early in the puzzle planted the seeds of my own destruction by misremembering this phrase, thinking it began with an O, putting that in, and then therefore essentially planting a little bomb that would explode 25 minutes in when I failed to validate the whole puzzle. So there we go. That was my solve of Wednesday's New York Times crossword by Anne Gray Martin. What a ridiculous episode this was. I already thought my solve was fairly ridiculous because of my my extended time I spent trying to hunt down my mistake, which I actually cut down. It was longer than that. But also because I didn't even record it. So the whole thing was just an utter farce, a comedy of errors. I'm very sorry about that. And now I don't even... Oh, I dropped my phone, which is the thing this is ridiculous, which is the thing I need in order to find the people to credit at the end of the episode. And what's ridiculous about that is I'd also lost my phone during the original recording. So I've reproduced that error as well, but I know where it is in this case. So just 1 second. Okay. Um, Anyway, thank you so much for watching this ridiculous video. I hope it is at least a remotely satisfying replacement for the normal daily video. I certainly don't want to make a habit of this kind of thing, that's for sure. So thanks for bearing with me. Uh, if you enjoy, if you for some reason enjoyed this, please do subscribe to the series. I promise it's usually better than this. I certainly hope this isn't your first time watching this, but if it is, they're usually not like this. If you subscribe, it'll be proven to you that that's the case. So if you subscribe to this series, you'll see these videos as they go up each morning. And if you again, I feel terrible asking for this, but if you particularly do enjoy this and you'd like to sustain it, then you can contribute just a few pounds a month or the equivalent in your local currency and become a patron over at my Patreon campaign at patreon.com/dailysolve, which is also linked in the description field underneath each video. There you will get a raft of bonus solves, including weekly mini puzzle speed solves, the monthly New York Times bonus puzzle, the weekly very difficult Boswords Fall Themeless Challenge competition puzzles, a whole bunch of things over there. And for some people who back at a particularly generous level, they receive a very attractive mug with a "Let's Check the Crosses" slogan, as well as recognition right now at the end of these videos. And today, I would like to very much thank Kathleen Quinn, as well as always, the inestimable Hood Monster and the incomparable Shantanu Bhatia. So thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Hood Monster. And thank you, Shantanu, for your generous, ongoing support. I very much appreciate it. I think that's it. I won't keep you in this charade any longer. I'll let you go. I'll be back tomorrow for another edition of the Daily Solve, for the Thursday Daily Solve, with some kind of wacky gimmick. And I hope that the only wacky gimmick is in the traditional Thursday intricate theme and not in another strange, bizarro version of this video. I hope the video is as normal as they come and the crossword is the interesting thing. So let's just keep our fingers crossed for that. Thank you so much for putting up with this. Thank you for joining me. I hope you'll return tomorrow for a more straightforward solve. And until that point, please do have an excellent remainder of your Wednesday. Take care.